TanStack got tan-hacked. Vercel got their walled garden penetrated. After stealing content for years, Udemy got their content stolen. Lovable, they got their vibes snatched. And now NPM and PyPy have been hit with a major supply chain attack targeting several popular JavaScript and Python packages. This is Shai-Hulud, which is the latest worm in a series of Shai-Hulud worms. The original Shai-Hulud worm showed up back in September 2025, which feels like a century ago at this point, and where malicious versions of multiple popular packages were published to NPM. They contained the post-install script that harvested sensitive data and sent it to GitHub public repos named Shai-Hulud. So that's why we have the name Shai-Hulud here. I also think that's a Star Wars thing. Shai-Hulud.
That's a sick hardcore band. If you're into hardcore music, folks, look up Shai-Hulud. Sick band.
It's actually from the movie Dune, by the way, in case you were wondering. We're just gonna run through pissing off people here. The new Shai-Hulud 2.0 dropped in November 2025, and PostHog got their hog posted. And Zapier got zapped, and Postman also got their hug posted with the new Shai-Hulud. And then it struck again as Shai-Hulud 3.0 in December of 2025. And now, I don't know why they don't call this one Shai-Hulud 4.0, but this is mini Shai-Hulud. Yes, this is mini Shai-Hulud. Yes, right. It is mini. It's a little mini worm. Wes, Shai-Hulud is a worm in Dune, just in case you want to get the reference if you've never seen the Dune movie, which I assume you have.
Dumb. This is insane. We're going to go through what happened, how it happened, what did it do, and how you can protect yourself. But like, man, I'm tired. This seems to be happening every single day, and how it happened is actually nuts. So what happened? The publishing sequence of TanStack, all of the TanStack packages, along with several other packages in the ecosystem, were compromised, and they were able to publish a new update of the package that then had like a post-install script in it, and then that went and harvested credentials. But how it actually happened, this was not like some maintainer got his like password stolen or something was run on their computer and it lifted credentials. How it actually happened was absolutely nuts. So what happened was GitHub Actions have caches. And when you send in a pull request to a repo, that repo may have several GitHub Actions that are in there. So in the case of TanStack, they had ones that would check the bundle size, make sure you're not accidentally sending in a pull request that's making the bundle size much bigger. And then there was other ones that would like check speed. You know, there's often there's things that will simply just run every single time that someone sends in a pull request. And then there's other ones that are a little bit more elevated, which is like you don't actually want to, like for example, if someone were to pull request against a syntax website, we would have to approve that before it actually did a pull request deployment, because they could be sending in code that would do malicious stuff. But what happened here is they took advantage of the fact that these GitHub Actions have a shared cache. And I guess when you're making a GitHub action, there is a pull request. You can either have a pull request hook or a pull request target. And when you use pull request target, they then have a shared cache between other ones. And this took advantage of that by poisoning the PNPM store directory. So it built a brand new thing, and then it took its malicious code and injected it into the PNPM store in a place where when something legitimate was merged, that the sort of the elevated release.yml workflow would run, it would know to actually look up this thing and run it. So they poisoned the PNPM store cache, and then turns out they just deleted all the code and then closed the repo. But that PNPM store cache was still poisoned. Then when a legitimate thing was merged, the release GitHub action was run, and it looked it up. It had the poison cache, and it ran this script that was in there. That then failed. However, in the like cleanup code of it failing, it was able to capture what's an OIDC token, essentially just like a JSON web token for npm, and then that was how they were able to then capture a legitimate npm publish token that can then be used to publish anything. Once you have that, you can then you can go ahead and publish more compromised software straight to npm, which is nuts. Like I'll say this again, this was not somebody getting any of their credentials stolen at all. It was simply just somebody using the fact that they realized the pull request target was a potential target, right?
Yeah. And this has been a known thing. I mean, this is something that, again, the original Shai-Hulud did as well, I believe. So this is not a new attack surface. And I know that like the Sentry folks have like security review AI skills, and I'll link to those below. But in their security review AI skill that's been there for, it says, do not use this particular pull request target. I actually did a quick search on all my repos because I've vibe coded enough GitHub actions because I sincerely hate writing GitHub actions. And I was like, maybe I do have this somewhere, but I don't, luckily.
Man, and the crazy thing about this is it was like it was a worm. So once one of them was compromised, it was able to self-propagate and publish through other packages. And then it sort of just like ate its way through the ecosystem, and it eventually got its way into like the Python package management system as well, which is absolutely nuts to see.
Yeah, and it's, again, we're talking about TanStack here. This has hit a lot of packages this morning. And this is just, at the time of recording this, a ton. Not only just the TanStack, there's a ton of UiPath packages, which I had never heard of UiPath before. But they have a lot of packages, and they got hit. Other popular packages are some... what was the one that I was... Oh, Mistral. I always call it Mistrial. I don't know why. Mistral got hit. CMux Agent MCP. There's just a number of different packages that got hit. So this is not just, are you using TanStack or not? And I would imagine by the time all is said and done here, there will be even more.
One interesting thing about the worm is that it tried to inject itself into other places that would auto run. So like at the end of the day, once this thing was published to the thing, once the end user would then install it, it would have like a post install script that it would install from like a different location. And then it would run some stuff and try to harvest credentials. So it was looking. Sorry, I'm really blown out on my camera here. It would try to harvest like different credentials from AWS and it's just looking for stuff on your computer. I'm sure that there was some end game here. Probably half for we need more compute to run our hacks on, and then half for we're actually looking for compromised information. But one thing it did do is it stuck stuff into other places that will automatically run code. So it stuck it into the Claude settings JSON and the VS Code tasks.json, which when you fire up Claude or fire up VS Code, this will automatically execute.
Yeah. I mean, this is how worms operate, right? They move from place to place. They dig themselves in.
Worms are not this fast.
I mean, there's a reason why.
This is nuts. But another crazy thing is that the hackers installed a dead man switch. So if you did end up installing this thing on your computer, it would constantly ping out to the GitHub API to see if your GitHub token had been like rotated, or if you had revoked your GitHub token. And if you had revoked your GitHub token, it would run rmrf on your home directory. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is freaky because I feel like there's just so many people who would not even know that this was on their machine. Maybe it's on their machine, they run it, and then goodbye to your life there. Man, that is it's a scary thing to think about. And that dead man switch is it's ruthless is what it is.
Have backups, folks. Have backups. Let's talk about like how do you actually protect yourself? So if to stop this thing from happening to you, like I think like partially on the like maintainer side, obviously don't use that pull request target in your GitHub action, right? Like I feel for all the folks that work on Tanstack, because they have done so much to make sure that they were secure. But it wasn't even that like somebody's computer was hacked. It was simply just this like poisoning of a shared cache, which is nuts to think about. But like on like a user point of view, how do you
let's stick on the maintainer for just a second.
Yeah.
So obviously don't use that. There is a set of security review skills from the Sentry team that are really worth checking out. I also use those in my S-Stack skill tree. So if you're using AI, the security reviewer skill can definitely help if you are using AI for stuff. There's also a GitHub Actions scanner made by SNYK Labs, who does a lot of SNYK Labs. Does
yeah, you got to know how to pronounce anything today.
I just say SNYK. I just that's not a word to me. That's fake word. From SNYK Labs, this will scan your GitHub Actions for security issues, which they do great work over there. So that's an awesome thing to have in your tool belt.
There's kind of like 3 big companies in this space right now. There's SNYK Security, there's Socket.dev, which we've had on the podcast, and then there's also the folks that did actually sort of release the thing was Step Security. So I saw Socket. Socket basically scans every single NPM package that is ever published. And then they have we talked to Faraz about how he does it, right? They have a whole bunch of stuff that they look for common things. They look for obfuscated code. They have a whole list of things to actually look for. And their system was able to detect it within 6 minutes, he said, which is great. And you have to wonder, like, why is NPM not doing this? I think something's got to change in this. This was not really an NPM issue, but also like this is such a big ecosystem. Absolutely everything uses NPM these days, and it's such a huge target. That they're obviously going to be targeted by these hackers. So I really think NPM needs to step up here and implement some bigger things, because they have like 2-factor authentication now every time you want to publish something, and that seems to be like the only thing they've done in the last little while. I'm sure they've done more, but like they really need to be doing something like Step Security or Socket's doing.
Yeah, as a user though, as a consumer of NPM packages, and let me tell you, open up wide because you're getting gigabytes of NPM packages on your machine. What can we do to help ourselves here? I think one of the things that people have been kind of going around and talking about is the minimum release age settings. I use PNPM instead of NPM as my package manager, and PNPM has this on by default. So if you are a PNPM user, by default in the latest version, only packages that are 24 hours old can be installed. So that's one thing. PNPM actually also has it blocks scripts from running by default. There's like a very annoying thing that pops up and you have to approve the scripts. Well, this is why you have to approve the scripts from running. It's there to save you. So PNPM can feel obnoxious at first, but again, that is saving your ass. And also, PNPM isn't the only package manager with this minimum release age setting. All of them have it, but they don't have it on by default. So Yarn has it with NPM minimal age gate, minimum release age in Bun, and min-release-age in NPMRC, which can we just these are like we got hyphenated case here, we got camel case, we got all 4 different. Can we just agree on a property name for this setting? Like who decided that NPM minimal age gate was a good property name for that setting? That's ridiculous.
PNPM.
Let's just all standardize on the minimum release age.
PNPM also has another setting which is turned on in version 11, which is relatively new. So if you're using an older version of PNPM, which I think a lot of people probably are, it's called block exotic subdepths, which sounds kind of nice. But essentially,
it sounds cool.
With your package.json, you obviously can link to NPM packages, and you say, okay, I want Lodash version 8, right? But that's not the only way to say where these packages come from. You can also link to specific Git commits. You can link to simply just external tarballs, and that's what was happening here, where when you installed it, it simply was linking to a dependency that lived on GitHub. So even if this malicious code was not actually published to npm, it was just linking off to like a Git repo somewhere, and then when you npm install, then it just goes and downloads that code from the actual resource. So this block exotic subdeps, when it's turned on, will not allow you to have those things that are not inside your package JSON, inside of your root package JSON. So like, that's often the thing, is that like 8 levels deep of your package JSON, there's some tiny little dependency that half the world is dependent on. That thing gets compromised, and then all the way up the package chain, everything is compromised. So that's another little step. And I think that's PNPM is doing a great thing for the community here by just turning these things on by default.
Yeah. It kind of feels like they're the only ones who care enough to turn those things on by default.
Yeah, I don't know. I think also like NPM has so many users that I'm sure they say, well, if we turn this on, it's going to break so many things. Like I'm sure they have like 100 times the traffic and 100 times the users. And like PNPM is used mostly by highly technical users, but you have to think like NPM is used in like Home Assistant and in everyone's vibe coded apps. Like I'm sure half the people using NPM have no idea what NPM is. And I'm sure if they flip any of these switches, it will just break a certain subset of people's apps.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you on that, but like you have to wonder if these types of hacks are specifically targeting vibe coders who don't. They just tell their agent to do whatever. Their agent installs a whole ton of stuff, and then they are none the wiser.
I think it's targeting anyone they can get access to, right? Like
I think it's targeting anyone they can get access to, but in the same regard, I feel like these things are way more likely to succeed with systems that are just installing things without the user really knowing what they're bringing into their system.
I don't know. Like, I don't think that, like, would this have got me if I NPM installed something, if I NPM 10 stack at the wrong time yesterday? It probably would have got me.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And I think I was just lucky that,
I'm not saying
I didn't install something. And like you have these PNPM stuff installed in there, but sometimes you NPM install something, or sometimes you have an agent rip on a script and it uses NPM. So I think I certainly could have got by this type of thing.
I think anybody could get got for sure. I'm just wondering if the susceptibility is higher, the hit rate is higher.
Definitely. And like they're probably looking for people inside of organizations that are like vibe coding like apps to get their work done, you know, like somebody that works at the power plant just whipped up a script to reply to their emails, and then bam, you know, now they're in at you got to think like they're probably looking for something deeper, or they're looking for compute so they can do more stuff.
Yeah. Another thing you can do here, folks, is if you want, you can start using dev containers. CJ made a really great video called "You Should Be Using Dev Containers," explaining how to get set up with dev containers. That could help with the sandbox nature of this all, right? If this script had access to remove your home directory, if it's inside of a container, you're a bit safer there. So, dev containers are certainly something that can at least protect your home system. Because again, it is, we've talked about this before, but it's wild that so many of us are just YOLO running. You know, you install NPM and all of a sudden a bunch of stuff's being run on your computer and you probably don't know it. Like that's when you think about it, that's crazy. That's crazy that anybody would agree to that. If you were given a prompt, it's like you I don't know, like I don't know. It reminds me of like Little Snitch. Remember Little Snitch?
That's the thing, is that there's got to be some middle ground between I don't want to have to prove every little thing. Little Snitch is annoying. But
Little Snitch is Little Snitch, for people who don't know, is a software that scans your network and like tried to you prove or deny every network request coming out of your machine. It was really super useful when you were absolutely not pirating Adobe Photoshop.
And like Dino does this. Dino requests you approve every single outgoing network connection and file system access. And the reality is that people don't use that because it's annoying, and they just want to let it rip. And everybody turns on Claude dangerously, skip permissions, or they use something that doesn't even have a security model. So like there's got to be some sort of something. And I honestly think that the solution to this is going to be that the model actually will be able to detect what is possibly malicious and what is totally fine to run. But I think before we get there, we're gonna have a lot more of these hacks.
Yeah, what's that? Mythos, the Anthropic model. You know what? It's funny. I did see a report today, that Mythos, that was supposedly this. I'm not saying that Mythos isn't going to be game changing in this regard. I sincerely do not know. But I did see that the curl folks were like, yeah, Mythos found one security issue, but it also it also made up like 3 of them. So we weren't super impressed. So
I don't know. Curl though. Curl. That's a pretty hardened low level tool, and for it to find one thing in such a big thing, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Listen, I don't have any
and
knowledge on it.
Who knows? It could be just drama that they're trying to spread. I don't believe much of what a lot of these people say until you actually see it. But in the same breath, I'll say I'm very impressed at everything that has happened in the last 6 months. All right.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when do you think the next hack's going to be?
Oh my gosh. I'm tired. I don't want any more.
June? Or
one other thing is the Socket has a CLI, which you can socket npm install, and it just kind of sits in front of your npm command, and that will sort of hook into this type of thing. Because if Socket finds it, but they haven't ripped it out of npm yet, then you're still going to get got. So honestly, I don't use this myself. I probably should be now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the game is I don't use this or do this myself, but I probably should be. Here's something that you might not be using, but you definitely should be, is Sentry at Sentry.io. Sentry is awesome for finding bugs, issues, errors, rage clicks, slow parts of your apps. It's really an essential toolkit for you to understand what the heck is going on in your application, whether that is with logs, errors, performance, any of that stuff. It even allows you to monitor things like your agents, so that way you can make sure your spend is under control with how you're using agents. And Sentry just gets new features all the time. So check it out as Sentry.io.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Peace.